October is my absolute favorite time of the year, and to celebrate, my partner and I here exclusively watch only the bestest of the horror genre. We also love trying to tie LEGO into that equation in any way that we possibly can. So over the next month, I'll be taking a look at some of the best LEGO horror inclusions from one of my favorite LEGO themes that ever released, Monster Fighters. Released in 2012, and some of those sets retired that same year, a couple of them made it into 2013, the line featured some of LEGO's best translations of some of the most famous iconic horror characters of all time. One of LEGO's own original creations, the sets took an inspiration from the Universal Monsters roster of characters. Now the line appealed to both adults and to kids. The theme's original story is that of a Dr. Rodney Rathbone who uncovers the nefarious plot from Lord Vampyre, the ruler of the monster realm. He plans to turn our days into night permanently and to rule the mortal world by unleashing his monster army. To do this, Lord Vampyre needs 6 moonstones to help power a machine of his own creation. It's up to the team of monster fighters to stop him. Classic LEGO original plotline seen in many themes before this one. If you enjoy these videos, liking and subscribing does help to support this channel in creating more videos just like this. This is set 9468 Vampyre Castle, which released in 2012 for $170. I really miss when the most expensive set for a wave was only $170. This set retired apparently just 6 months later, so I hope you all moved quick on it because in aftermarkets, the set is currently valued at $470 sealed. Yeah, this right here's the big one. Dracula has appeared in film for decades, spanning multiple different iterations and reimaginings. There's a few great famous ones to go over here, so let's get into all of them. Nosferatu, which released just over 100 years ago now, that's insane to think, is the first vampire movie to grace our screens. Bela Lugosi, he played Dracula in the 30s, and he is who I believe to be the main inspiration for this set. Christopher Lee, you've probably heard of him, he was Dracula around the 50s. My favourite iteration of Dracula comes from Francis Ford Coppola's film, a visually stunning rendition eventually homaged in The Simpsons. Everything usually comes back around to The Simpsons. The set overview in my eyes, I'ma say it, the best LEGO Monster Fighters set of this wave. Dracula's castle and a really cool vintage sport car is perfect, plus all of the moonstones in case you missed a couple of sets. LEGO castles are always loved by the audience and consumers. I realize that while I don't have any generic castle themed castles, I do have some really great themed ones. I really love the shaping of this, which is tall towers that make up a sharp silhouette like a series of jagged mountaintops. They all connect together, but there is no substantial fully fledged connected interior like a Hogwarts design. They're just towers connected through Technic pegs and some wall builds. The set uses these panels across the entire build with some individual sticker designs all over them, some featuring just bricks, some featuring some bats and some other creatures of a potential threat. The pirate and medieval windows are used here as well. Sometimes they're fully enclosed and sometimes they have jail cell like bars. I love the overgrown plant life on some of these stickers, but I wish that these were actual parts and not just prints. I would have loved to have seen some real elements used here for that instead. We'll start with the front tower here and make our way through this castle. At the start here we have a secret entrance point where part of this wall can actually be blown apart. There's a small gap inside that's just big enough for figures to fit, but inside remains a corpse. We have a bat in his position here, and there are 2 of them in the set total. They each have their own perches where they can hang for displayability purposes. Up top there is a cauldron where I've placed Vampyre's bride. She's here brewing and crafting and just up to general no good. The cauldron here has a frog and a mushroom, just the worst things you could possibly think of. Moving on down and continuing outside before we take a look inside the castle, we have a large gate and some dead looking plant life. I always loved the old gate pieces for sets like this, and a glow-in-the-dark spider rests above that main entrance as well. More details around these stickers on these walls, webs and bricks, and evidence of a dilapidated building. The second bat's resting place is here by the main tower with some cool window displays all around, using more of the closed up windows than the jail cell bars instead. That's it for the front section and exterior of the set. We'll now turn it around for the interior designs. Starting with that first tower that we looked at the beginning of the video, the secret entrance leads us to a dungeon room where we can see a corpse that's hanging in a lonely cell. There's a wheel and you can spin that wheel and the corpse can either be lowered or risen depending on how you're playing. The corpse is attached by a chain and some handcuffs. It's awesome that they included this and it's very morbid, but all the better for it. Moving over to the main gate now, after opening and entering we can attack our monster fighter members who spring the trap. There's a couple of spikes on these minor wall builds and you can use them to knock characters over or just simply hold them in place. The next tower features some more interactive rooms and traps. At the bottom here is a spiked pit, a round circular piece with some teeth attached to it. Directly above is a study, I'm assuming. The room features a map inside and a red carpet. Around the back of that tower is a peg, and when you pull it, it opens up the trapdoor. A monster fighter member can go flying down to the very bottom and find themselves caught up in a trap. Above that is a chest in its own little area. Inside that chest are some gems, as one would probably expect. It now brings us to the main structure and centerpiece of this build. This is the main tower, main play feature, and the main room for Drac and his bride. We have some stairs that lead up to the central area, and here we have even more decorations and some stickers. More flowers, more vines, more spooky insects, and some more bricks and some cobwebs. This tower is one of my favorite parts for the Moonstone build, and the segment that builds outside to the side here, that section is connected through some Technic parts. It's not actually built into the tower or anything. Moving on inside now, which is basically just Dracula and his bride's room. At the very bottom here we have a crypt which has nothing inside but Dracula's lonely coffin. A really great inclusion, and I love that red velvety look that makes it feel quite ornate in the entrance there. The coffin may have been used in some other sets before this one, but here it has a sicker design of a Lego bat on the front. The coffin can easily open up and Dracula is shown sleeping in there. Above that is the main room here with all sorts of different cool inclusions. Here is a display of some potions. It must be the bride's collection of concoctions that she's made with her cauldron. There's a little friendly rat here as well. A spiral staircase that hides the bed. The bed must be for the bride, I guess. Lego beds are always really amusing to me. It's something that's completely non-interactive for Lego minifigures, but they are still always fun to build. Above them is a small library section here. We know from the map room that someone in the spooky castle does like to read and work. This section has a very small collection of books and a candle at a desk. It all leads to the Moonstone machine, but above that is an organ that's sitting at the very top. The organ is a perfect touch and add for this set, built really nicely, and it brings everything together for monster movie fans. As for the machine here, if you missed any of those major sets, each Moonstone was included in this set besides the zombie one, which wasn't needed for the build anyway. That set released just slightly after this one, so we pass on that inclusion entirely. This is very reminiscent of things like the Atlantis portal, another set that I really love with a very similar gimmick. At the back of the machine, you can push the lever forward and the moon will emerge from those stones. You can rotate it as well, and it even glows up in the dark, which is neat. It's cool, but I still feel like I'm kind of let down a little. All this build up and the gimmick is just something that you can push forward. It's okay, but comparing it to the Atlantis portal, you turn those gears and the portal forms before your very eyes. It's an amazing gimmick that they somehow managed to pull off perfectly. There's a few glow-in-the-dark areas around this set here, even a couple of glow-in-the-dark minifigures. The hero's vehicle this time around is a really nice period piece vehicle, just like the other ones. This one to me feels like it's closely fitting an older styled convertible, but there are a few changes that have been made here so that it fits the theming better. I don't believe this type of a vehicle could be used for someone like Barbie. This car is beautiful in that sand green coloring, and I love the guns that are used here. I'm not sure if they're just for decorations or for storage or for something that's to do with the car or what, but they do look really nice. Exhaust parts are used at the sides and an engine is placed at the front as well. The car even includes a play feature of a net that can be used to capture some of the spooks. It's probably one of my favorite Lego cars that I think I've built in a set. It's solid in its build and it looks really sleek and gorgeous. Onto our minifigures. Here is Rodney Rathbone, the second time that we're looking at him on this channel, and he released in 3 sets in total. I mentioned in the last video that he was in that I love the color scheme that's included, and the bowler hat makes for a really great accessory. He includes a fencing sword and a pistol and his prosthetic leg, which was a really cool part to get when I was younger. He's the leader of the group and my personal favorite minifigure from the team. Here is Jack McHammer, who appeared in the zombie set as well as this one. Since I mentioned earlier that the zombie sets was apparently released later on than this one, that means that for a very brief period of time he was an exclusive minifigure to this set. I like how well spread those characters did end up being overall. I like his inclusion, but he's still my least favorite member of the team, for mostly containing parts that I think are just in other lines anyway. The arm is really cool though, that's not a very common civilian piece. Here is the complete team of monster fighters taking on the castle. There were a few different ways that you could go about getting all 5 of these guys. A few of them did appear in sets as duos, which actually became really handy. Lego would then go on to make a really great Scooby-Doo line only a few years later, and when given the opportunity to repeat this process, they would go in the complete opposite direction and force you into buying 2 very specific sets if you wanted to make the entire team. I'm sure my partner or I will cover these sets at some point in the future. That theme is too much of a favorite favourite of ours to be omitted from the series. But let's talk about these monsters real quick. This is Lord Vampyre's bride, who did also appear in the D2C Haunted House set. Dracula is sometimes depicted in arts with brides or women at his side. I actually don't think I can show a whole lot of that, usually portrayed in a way that is not so PG-13 friendly. My theory is that LEGO went with the depiction of the Bride of Frankenstein as Dracula's bride instead. She comes with a potion and a nice red dress, her face is glow in the dark as is Drax, she includes a double-sided expression, and she makes for a really nice inclusion overall. This is the Bat monster, nicknamed Man-Bat within some of my inner circles because this was very commonly used by audiences for a Man-Bat custom in the DC line. I really loved borrowing this figure for that idea as a temporary solution until LEGO would eventually release an official one, which took significantly longer than I think I had originally anticipated. The Man-Bat design would be used a few times across other CMF series, and even for Man-Bat himself in the Batman sets. I do love this one a lot, and that cheeky smile and shades of brown used for colouring. You get two of them here and they're the exact same figure as one another, so I wish there might have been a little bit of unique variety between the two. And finally here we have Lord Vampyre, or Dracula as everyone in the world knows him to be. Drac released in a few sets total actually. He was included in the much cheaper option of the Hearst set, but he was missing his cape. Now me personally, I'm very big on needing to collect the character's definitive looks. It's actually what's kind of kept me away from most of those recently released Dream sets, because only in the uber expensive ones do the characters wear their entire full costumes. Glad that I have this Dracula with his cape. I think he's fantastic. Not the first time that we'd get a vampire or a Dracula figure, but it wouldn't be the last one either. This guy has his cape and neck collar and a sword as an accessory. He's got the slicked Venkman here and details under his cape as well, and a double-sided face of a saddened look. I do really love that Dracula figure. Here is every monster that's been collected over the series. When these figures are all together in place, it really does make the theme shine in my eyes. I love the special molds and repaints of the figures, my personal favorites probably being Dracula here, Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Wolfman. I don't think that there's really one bad figure of the bunch if I'm honest with you, and if you didn't like these designs, there were some pretty good alternatives available in the CMF series. Instructions for the set came in 2 booklets. 2012 LEGO line meant that we would have some pretty cool theming. This features a booklet that's covered in fog and a moon in the top corner here. For the final time we have an image of the theme as a whole, with every character included. The other booklet here showed me all of the play features that I needed to go through while I was filming this. We also see the website here and the sets individually advertised and were sent off with a final message about LEGO Club and the Win Kid. This is one of my favourite original themed sets from LEGO despite any of the flaws that I think it might have. I am a sucker for the horror genre, a genre that is rarely depicted in kids media today like toys, so I'll take anything that I can possibly get my hands on. The scary castle looks really menacing, the car build is a really special one that stands out well from the other vehicles in the line, and it makes the wave feel complete, especially when all of the sets are put together. If you enjoyed this review of the Monster Fighters video series, liking and subscribing does help to support our channel. Happy Halloween everyone, and ka kite anō.